Hello, it is a Saturday morning, September 14th, at about 7:30 in the morning, and the sun is up, and I am at the park today, and I don't know if I'll post this, but I'll certainly record it and remember it. I had a dream about my grandfather last night, and I've been missing him. We lost him a few years back, and I miss him, and it was so nice to see him in a dream. And for me, I know in my heart and soul that when we see people we love in our dreams that have passed away, they're coming to visit us. It's a way that we can connect with them. And he certainly did that. And I know he made it to heaven. He was so beautiful. He just was all soul. And he looked amazing. He had this gray silvery hair, and his skin looked great, and his eyes were bluer than blue. And I saw him, and the setting was up in the mountains. He and his wife used to go to Estes Park, and I don't know if they went every year on their wedding anniversary, but they went many years, and that was where they had their honeymoon when they were first married, and they would go back and visit. And I think those were happy memories for him. Maybe they were happy for me, because we lived close to Estes Park while he lived in Nebraska, and it was a short drive to come up and see him. And those were some really amazing times and happy memories that I have. And in the dream, we were in the mountains, and me and my humanness, I went to hug him, and he hugged me back, and I was just bawling, and I was so happy to see him, but I missed him so much, and that was in my humanness. But in his soulfulness, he didn't cry, and that makes so much sense. He's in a happy place. He's in an amazing place, and I don't think there's sadness there. There's nothing but love and happiness and high vibes, and I could see that he was within all of that, and I was so happy for him, and I felt so good that he was in such a great place. And I said to him, "We had such a connection, didn't we?" And he said, "We really did." And he let me hug him for a while, which is not something he was always comfortable with in his human form when he was living on Earth. And I remember as a little kid, I would go up and I would hug him, and it would be uncomfortable for him because he didn't know what to do. And I think in his lifetime, he just didn't experience or have a lot of love. I mean, he felt love, but he just didn't always know what to do. um, when someone loved him. And so he would awkwardly hug me back. And, in this dream, when I just gave him this great big hug and he hugged back, I knew that he had, made it to heaven, and he was all soul and all love, all happiness. And that was just great to see. And, when he was here, he did everything amplified. When he was angry, amplified. When he was happy, amplified. When he was energetic, amplified. The only thing I didn't see amplified was sadness or despair. Maybe if he was sad, it came out as anger. And like everybody else here on this earth, I mean, he made his mistakes and he did his share of wonderful good things, but my goodness, I know some other family members, and I'm going to say probably his kids felt the pain of his mistakes in life. They were deeply affected by it, but we all come here to expand and learn, and we all make mistakes, and we have relationships that we're meant to learn from, and everything just is what it is. And I know that he didn't have probably as close of a relationship with everyone else, or with many people or many family members that I felt I had with him. And I'm not here to talk about that. I am here to talk about all the wonderful memories I had of him. And I'm so sorry if, he was hurtful. I acknowledge the pain in his actions that were hurtful to his children. For instance, he always wanted to practice his profession. He wanted to be a doctor, and he was good at it. And that's what he wanted to do. He wanted to go to work, and he wanted to help people. And he married somebody that I somewhat compare to the person I had married. You think you've picked a good partner, and picked a good person, but not everyone is compatible. And while I will not speak to his marriage, I don't know what his marriage was like for him, because he never talked to me about it. And there are things that I just observed growing up. And one thing about him that I loved was, but also sometimes missed, is he spoke of other people so little, or not very often. He he wasn't a gossiper. Um, and he didn't talk about what people were doing. He was always learning. And he had a house full of books. He was forever reading. And that was his guilty pleasure. If he was spending money, it was for another book that he wanted to read. And he was so excited to go get books and start reading. And he would often work during the day and read at night when he should have been sleeping. And he was just all about books, and he loved them. And he had a reading chair in his room. I remember having dreams where I would fly over to his home and kind of like check out the home. And I would see my grandmother in bed sleeping, and my grandfather would be up reading a book. And it was like almost a dream where I was traveling over to check on the house and check on them. I always felt like I had like a deep connection with that house. And when I was growing up, I spent quite a bit of time over there. I lived in Colorado and he lived in Nebraska, but anytime I ever needed to come visit, he didn't care if I gave him a heads up or I just showed up out of nowhere. He didn't care if it was morning or night. He gave me the code to enter his house and told me where the key was, and he never put a limit on how long or how short I could stay. I never had to give notice. His home was my home. And there were a couple times throughout life where that really saved me, because I didn't feel like I had a place to go. And I would go there, and I was always welcome. And he didn't want me to go. And sometimes he would be in a great mood, and sometimes he would be in a not great mood. And I don't know, I took it in stride. If it was a tough time for him, I might not stay as long. But if he was feeling great, he and I had so much fun. He would wake up at 4, and he would always come wake me up. He'd say, "Come on, kid, let's go look at the stars." Or he would take me for a drive and be like, "Let's go get a really great cup of coffee. You got to try this, or try this tea, or let's go make a coddled egg. I'm going to show you how to make the perfect coddled egg." And it wasn't, just me. It was like anyone who wanted to learn about anything that he was working on or thinking. I mean, we would go drive out somewhere and look up at the stars, and he would say, "Here, do you see this constellation?" And he would give me books, and he'd say, "Look for this constellation." And he was so excited about it. And I am going to admit, I loved looking up at stars, and it was beautiful. But I didn't take as much to the constellations, but he loved them. And, I wasn't going to let him down. And, it was a really great grandfather-granddaughter relationship. I felt he truly cared, and that was special for me. And I remember being a little kid staying at his house for a little bit, and he would say, I need you to take care of your grandmother today. She's gonna try and take some laundry and carry a basket down the stairs, and it's gonna throw her back out. Do not let her go down the stairs. Whatever you do, make sure she doesn't go down those stairs. And then he would leave for work, and I would go outside all day and find any of the neighborhood kids and be playing with them. And then I'd come home and find out that she had taken a basket of laundry and tried to go downstairs, and then she'd have thrown her back out, and he would look at me and be like, why did you, and he would just kind of like wonder, why didn't I catch her? Why did I let her go downstairs? Why wasn't I here to watch her? And I kind of just took it with a grain of salt. Even at a young age, I knew that it was silly to expect a little kid to watch their grandmother all day. And like he was going to be mad to just be mad, and I wasn't sure why she kept doing things that she shouldn't have done, because it was going to hurt her back. But I didn't really take responsibility for that. I just kind of let it roll off my back, which I'm glad I did. But I mean, those were human things, human emotions and human anger and human expectations that we all have the power to change and learn from. And those were just some things, some amazing things. And anyone who wanted to join in and talk about stories or learn something or was always welcome. Sometimes it was just he and I, and sometimes if people were over, it was a group, and I don't know, I felt this special connection to him. I feel like we'd spent many lifetimes in some kind of connection with each other, whatever it was. And this one, he was a grandfather. He was a beloved grandfather, and I miss him dearly. I miss his home. I remember him asking me, he's like, I'm getting older now. Is there anything you want when I pass on? Is there anything you want and in the house? And I said, well, I love your house. I don't know if anyone else wants them, but I would love to have your books. All the books, all those wonderful books you bought. The house was just full of them. And every time I would come over, he would leave books out by the bed or just in a bathroom, or he just had stacks of books, and he would pick out some books that he thought I might like to read, and he just put them around the house, and I would pick them up and look at them. Sometimes I read them, sometimes I didn't. But his books were so important to him, and they were such a memory for me. And I don't know what happened to them, but I remember that about him. And the very few times that he might comment on like an interpersonal relationship or a behavior of somebody, It might be something he'd observe. Like, for instance, he told me once, he said, the biggest disappointment for me today is these men who marry women and have kids and then have the audacity to leave. They abandon their family. And I don't understand how you can do that. I don't understand how these men create these families and then walk off. And he said, you never, ever leave your family. And when he said that, I knew that if he were so emotional at that piece, it must be something that he struggled with. Sometimes when people are together, they have a bond with each other, or they might love each other. I certainly did with Matt. And, it's with your heart, it's with your soul. Your soul just, you feel the connection and the bond and the love. But you're not good for each other. And you shouldn't be together, because in their human form they're struggling with something, or it's not a good match, or you begin to recognize when one is up, the other is down. Like there's a dynamic going on that is not it's not complementary, and it's up to us to take that relationship and learn from it, and learn what's good and bad and what doesn't work. And for him and his wife, it's my opinion, and of course I didn't know their marriage, but it's my opinion when I observe them, that when he was feeling good and he was at his best, his wife was more on the low side. He didn't bring out the best in her, and she wasn't always a perfect complement to him. But it did seem that they loved each other. And while he said there are things you don't do, in his opinion, like for instance, you don't create a family and then not support them. He did a lot of unconventional things in his life, and so did she. One thing she did was she got a degree in economics, and women rarely went to college, I think, in her generation. Maybe I'm wrong about that, but I don't know. When you go back to the days and the shows of, like, I'm just thinking of a show, Leave It to Beaver, or Patty Duke, or I'm trying to think of these shows. It always showed the woman staying at home. There really wasn't a need to get a college degree. And I don't even know if men always got a college degree. I think you could graduate from high school and you wouldn't make as much, but you could afford to buy a home and have a family and a car and everything else. And then if you wanted to make more money, you got the college degree. Like, for instance, if you wanted to further your education. But she got her degree in economics. She was fully capable of working and having a job, but she stayed at home. And she was not at her best all the time, but man, did she have a big heart, and she was so nice. And that's what makes her amazing, is despite any pain that she may have been going through, she was always so kind, and I loved her so much as well. And I don't remember her ever being intentionally mean to me, and I had so much love for her too. There were some things she did that I didn't understand, but you know, I just don't know that she had a mean bone in her body, but some of the things she did also affected a lot of lives. It affected her kids' lives, and it was her, I guess you could say, cross to bear, but we all have them. I have them, every single one of us, and I think she was this amazing soul that I think of often. When I think of how good her heart was, despite any kind of pain or suffering or depression or sadness she may have been feeling. She spent a lot of her life drinking, I think. I don't know that part because it was hidden. But I don't know. A lot of times she didn't have the energy that maybe she would have wanted, or the strength to be very effective. So the kids had their father working all the time, and then their mother didn't have the energy that she needed, maybe to do all the things she wanted to do, or should have done, or could have done. I don't know the answer to that because I didn't know her quite as well. But in my own life, I had my kids, and when they were very little, I had a friend, Martha, that was helping me with them, and Matt would go to work, and just two young kids, babies, and I was tired. I couldn't wake up. I was always so tired. I was always so worn out. And this friend of mine, she was so sick, and she had kidney failure. She was getting dialysis. She was dying, and she knew it. And she told me once, she said, Heather, I am so sick. I don't have functioning kidneys. I have to get dialysis just to survive. I'm always in pain. The swelling and the pain, and my heart hurts. I have chest pains, and just a whole list of issues going on. And she said, I observe that I have more energy than you. I can do things with your kids and watch them and play with them, and your energy is so depleted. And for a while, I thought that it was me. Something wrong with me, that I didn't have the energy. And in a way, that's true. That's my responsibility. There's something with me that I need to fix if I'm feeling that kind of fatigue in my life, no matter what I'm dealing with, not just kids, but anything. And I was able to find resources, thank goodness, to help myself. Just kind of during a time and during years when I felt so low on energy, but my low energy came well before the kids. It's like I just couldn't see it. Something was draining me, and I had an earful of people tell me, well, that's with you. You have that problem. You need to go see a psychiatrist, or that's kind of a mental issue. That could be depression, that could be bipolar, that could be anxiety. There's some kind of behavioral thing. And I believed it. I kind of didn't, but I did. And I remember finally just going to see a doctor and saying, I don't feel good. I don't have the emotions that I should have. I can't remember the last time I really felt very happy. And, they gave me some medication to take, and I certainly felt better. But sometimes when people feel something like that, while it's always their responsibility to fix, sometimes the cause of that is something they need to get away from. It's not necessarily internal. It's not necessarily coming out of nowhere. There's something in your life sometimes that may be draining you. I remember, like, I'd felt this drain for long enough. It was taking a physical toll. And I started having issues with my back. And my back was in so much pain. I was hunched over. And I could barely walk. And if I could walk, it wasn't for very long. And just the never-ending pain. And I went to this chiropractor who was very good at what he does. And, he kept doing adjustments. And, it was obviously at that time it was like a slip disc that was probably started by pregnancy. And it just, like, it flared, I think, or it would just kind of come and go. It was something that I just wasn't shaking. And, like, I did all the exercises and I kept coming in for adjustments, and he would have me do these things, like the exercises and he didn't know what was going on, and I won't name his name, but he believed there were other things that could cause this, and he literally told me, go to see this person for a massage. Let's see if that helps. And I went to this woman, and she did massage therapy, but really what she did was she read energy. And he knew that. And he didn't tell me this, she did. And I appreciate that. But I followed his advice and, got the massage. And what she did was she read my energy, and she told me that she conveyed to him, because what he was looking for was, why isn't this person getting better? What is going on that is causing this continual pain? Why are we not seeing the healing that we should? And she told him that she saw some energy that I was connected to, and it wasn't good energy. It was a bad energy. I I actually had very good energy, but I was connected to people who did not have good energy. And I needed to consider that because it was tying in with me and affecting my health. And I really thought about that. I was like, gosh, who is it? I don't know. I don't know who this bad energy would be. Now I know. It was my husband. And he had a whole different view, a whole different life, a whole different face, a whole different set of opinions and actions that I had no idea, because he hid them from me and because I wasn't looking. I missed the warning signs. I missed it, but man, he was very good at hiding what he felt. And I still, to this day, I will admit, it's hard to see. I second guess it each time, and then I get a sign or a signal. It's like, you're not reading this wrong. You are on track. You are so point on. Keep going. You're seeing this. You are finally seeing this. And I had no idea what horrific things I still don't know. I know that it will come to me when I'm ready to hear it, but he's done some terrible things, and it's my job to get away from him. And I do it step by step. But that's the bad energy. And I mean, you talk about shock. Is like kind of to hear that or understand that or know that. It's shocking to me today. But, I made him something in my mind that he wasn't. I just saw all the great things in him. And I just made him to be what I saw his potential to be. And it wasn't the way he was. And that's a lesson that I will have to be learning. Not just with him, but with a lot of people in my life. But my grandfather, I've prayed many times. It's like, I know you're with me. I know you're looking over me. I know you're helping to protect me. I know that you loved me. I know there was some sort of connection and closeness I felt with you in our lifetimes that seemed like we'd known each other in other lifetimes. It was such a great connection. And he had a sister whose name was Mary Ruth that I never got to know, because they had their brother-sister squabbles. And she was so smart. She's probably smarter than him, and he didn't like it. He was so smart too. And she was amazing and energetic and magnificent. And her family, oh my gosh, they loved her so much. I only really got to see her a couple of times because he didn't keep in touch with her as much as he should have. But he never did hesitate to tell me, if you ever want to stop in Kearney, Nebraska, you have family there, and they would love to see you. And I didn't really know very much about this family because nobody ever talked about them, and we didn't really go to visit them. But she was another soul to me that I was like, gosh, I really feel a connection. And I just see if she was just so easy to love. She was loved deeply by her family, and even by me. For the very few times I saw her, she was amazing. And these connections that we feel are people maybe we've known for lifetimes, and we just keep showing up in different forms and different relationships and learning different lessons. And yeah, so it occurs to me that perhaps my grandfather had a similar relationship that I did to my husband, where he had trouble parting with her. They had love for each other, but they just weren't the perfect match. And they didn't bring out the best in each other. And I don't know. Life goes on from one lifetime to another, and you come back and learn more lessons, and it is what it is. But man, nothing else matters but the love that you felt for someone and the lessons in life that you learn. And yeah, I'll leave it there. Have a good day.